uh, Seattle Steinbrueck Native Gallery downtown. And I'm going to show that to you in a minute after I finish talking about the displays we have here in the lobby. Um, Lower right-hand corner, you'll see a large map. There is a First Nations artist who has put together a map of the United States with all of the tribes that were on the continental United States with their tribal names by state. And it's really a stunning piece. We were able to get it and frame it to share. On the left-hand side of the display piece that's up on the screen are several different items that are from Native American nations. Teresa, our center director, had some baskets and a wonderful drum and some other things that we've put in the display case, along with some blankets at the bottom. And my son has several things that he has that I brought from home. Two of the pieces belonged to my great aunt. So there's a clutch purse and also a weaving that's well over 100 years old because she passed quite a long ago. There's also another book in the display case called 500 Nations. It is incorrect because the latest count and the accurate number to date is 574 nations of Native peoples. Jared has put together what we see in the middle, which is the land acknowledgement statement. And it is an official document to tell us what tribe owned the land where the senior center is on. And so the Suquamish people were expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers. And they were also called people of clear salt water. So that gives you a little bit of history there. I'll give you a minute to take a look at it and read it. And this is part of our display at the senior center.
Donna, it is pretty small for us to read on the screen.
Oh,
so
you know, I think what we can do is put it up on the website and on the Facebook, and then you'll be able to manipulate it. Would you like me to read it to you?
Yeah.
Or, okay, it went away again. So I don't know. Jared? I don't see it. I'm going to try to
comment that there's a really nice map at the Shoreline Historical Museum too.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Of our area and the tribal trails and stuff.
That's great. So here it is bigger. Jared is making it nice and big so that you can read. But Chief Seattle in 1854 said, "Every part of the soil is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hallowed by some sad or happy events in days long vanished." So we are going to begin to acknowledge the land on which we gather, that it's within the Aboriginal territory of the people of the clear salt water, or the Suquamish people. And as I mentioned, they were fishermen, canoe builders, basket weavers, and they lived in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. So they lived and protected the lands and waters of their ancestors for the future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855.
If I may, there is a copy of the Treaty of Point Elliott at the Tulalip Hillbub Center right now.
Oh, great.
And so I've worked for two tribes, and that is one of the seminal documents in establishing local tribal rights to fish and hunt, as well as the ceding. I was over, I think it was 55,000 acres equivalent, basically King County and Snohomish County and a bit of Pierce County to the United States.
Wonderful. Thanks, Greg. That's great. That'd be really something to see. Well, last Saturday, I went down to the Steinbrueck Native Gallery, and one of the gentlemen that works there gave us a private tour. My son Max came with me, and we filmed it, and we have it recorded. And I'm going to go ahead and ask Jared to, I guess I can hit play as well. We will go ahead and play the tour for you, and we'll catch up with you later. This is a picture of me outside of the gallery, and Nathan Germain was the gentleman that took us on the tour. Oh, the video isn't playing. Let's see. We checked it earlier. Let's see. I think Jared's trying to get it to boot up. He's at my door. Let's see if I can move it back here. There's nothing. Okay, Jared is going to pause it and back it up, and then we'll we will get the audio going. Thank you for being patient as we work this out.
So are you going to put this on the a Facebook page or something?
It is on Facebook. We're going to share it with you now, and then it will be on Facebook.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is a premiere.
Yeah. And as always, there's always we tested it this morning and it was working fine. So I'm sure Jared will be able to get it going.
Steinbrueck Gallery is a wonderful, wonderful gallery, as you.
Oh, it's
see.
beautiful. Yes.
Is there a charge to go through the gallery?
No, no. And it's right down on Western, near the market.
Yeah, a block north of the market.
Right.
How long has it been there?
I'm trying to remember what he told us. Let's see. I know it's been it's years and years. Well, let's see what's
That's
going
They've taken my money for many years.
They have lovely things. Just they have everything from carvings to jewelry to sculptures to masks. And we'll see if we can get it going. Okay, Jared said he's going to try to start. At the gallery, he's going to take us around and show us some of the pieces and give us a beautiful view of the things on display. And it's all Native American Northwest.
It is, yes. The gallery is exclusively indigenous artists, primarily Northwest Coast. So that runs from northern Oregon, which I'll show you on the map, all the way up the coast. To
We
the
can't see the video.
Panhandle up here.
Oh, here
This
it is.
map has a breakdown of all the different cultural groups in the region. You can see, here's Seattle down at the bottom. This is the Salish Sea, Puget Sound. This area is traditionally the Salish people. So I'm going to show you some works from each of these different regions, starting with the Coast Salish, which is an area down here. I'm going to take you this way. Here I have two examples of Coast Salish artwork. You can see this round panel here. This is a carved red cedar piece with a raven in it. So here's his eye and the beak and his tongue. And these represent his wings in the wind. So this is an artist who's from this area named Andy Peterson. He does really beautiful fine-lined carvings and paintings. Another example is this one, which is one of my favorite pieces. This is called Migration, Salmon Whorl. This is Coast Salish from down here. The design is meant to represent something called a spindle whorl, which is a small disc with a stick in the center that people would use to spin wool into yarn they could later weave. Their weavings were totally famous and very valuable, and they were quite popular up and down the coast. So this has become a symbol of Coast Salish art and culture. In this one, you can see the artist, Kelly Canal. She's fabulous. She's carved these salmon heads. Each one of these is the salmon head. Some are facing in and some are facing out. And the design is meant to look like it's in motion. So you can get a sense of how the salmon run. They come up the river, they go back out to sea, and so on forever. These little copper pieces actually represent the roe of the fish that would be floating in the river.
Don't tell me.
So the next thing I'm going to show you is something that's totally different. It's from the Columbia River Valley. It's this piece right here. You can see it looks quite a bit different from what we've seen earlier with all the geometric patterns and designs. This is done by the Chinook people, and it actually represents a spiritual concept instead of a physical concept. This is titled The Sun and Its Relatives. So this character right here actually represents the spiritual version of the sun. He's obviously very high ranking, you can see his face. He has this big, beautiful headdress on with pieces that come down the sides. These were originally made out of beads and shells and beaver fur for really popular people. So you can see his relatives up there, which generally would be moons and stars, and sometimes he does things like meteors as well. So this is a really interesting depiction of something that's very traditional for the Chinooki people of the Columbia River Valley. I'll show you this. This piece is actually a killer whale rattle, and I'm going to get the map out again and show you we're moving up the coast. This territory here is the Kwakwaka'wakw, or Kwakiutl, they used to be known as. They have a really bold style with lots of colors, lots of bright colors. So this you can see, this is the handle, and this is the design of the killer whale that's carved on it, with the big dorsal fin and the tail flukes and the pectoral fins. And these would have been used during performances, dances. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine how they would have sounded when there was quite a few of them in use. Let's see, I'm going to show you another piece that comes from this area here. It is this fun piece, which tells a story. So this is from the Nuu-chah-nulth people. And this is a wall carving that tells a story in the olden days of the Nuu-chah-nulth people. In this story, there's Raven here with his black beak, straight, and those are his feet and his wings. And this on the top, of course, is the seagull. You can see this wings and the orange beak. And in this story, the seagull has stolen the sun and taken it into his house and hidden it away. So everybody, of course, is pretty upset because they can't see anything, they can't do anything, they're mad, and seagull won't give it back. So Raven finally gets fed up, and he goes to the ocean and he picks up all of these sea urchins and puts them outside the door of Seagull's house. So when Seagull comes out, he steps on them, ow, ow, ow. And he's quite miserable because he can't get them out. So Raven says, if you give the sun back, I'll take these spikes out of your feet and things will be fine. So of course, Seagull had to agree to that so that we could have the sun back. So he's done this interesting piece that shows there's an upside down human face, which of course represents us as a part of the whole community. It's beautiful. Mhm. Let's see. So I'll show you a couple of other pieces. I'm going to use the map one more time to show you the Tsimshian area. This is part of Hawaii, Queen Charlotte Islands. This is the Alaska Panhandle. This area here is the Tsimshian. And the Tsimshian artwork is very traditional. It's mostly what we consider Northwest Coast native artwork to look like. So here's an example in a print. And this one is done by David Boxley. And he created this to honor his 40th anniversary of being an artist and a carver. You can see how classic and well-balanced all of these form lines and designs are. So these are the human people right here with their hands out, like this. And inside is an eagle, which is David's family crest. So here's the eye and the sharp beak. And in the mouth, you can see that little human profile right there. There's the wing with the feathers, the body, and the tail feathers. In the red, which is the secondary design element, is his hand holding an adze, which is a tool that was used to chop the wood and carve things out. So that's really what this piece is about, is him being a carver for so long. So you can see his feet right there. So these are all designed very specifically. Every little form line has a particular structure that has to be followed in order for this to be a truly traditional piece. And David is a master of the traditions. He really sticks with it. There's a young man that he taught who did this paddle, which is ceremonial, and shows you an orca that's down here. So you can see how every line and every shape is very well balanced, very specific. This is a classic Tsimshian design. This is a whale. He's going down. This is his tail flips that's flipped over. So this one would have been used at the performances when you would come into the room. A group of people would have these. For other paddles, we have more over here, which can show a little more variety. So these paddles are actually real paddles for use. They are carved in the traditional fashion, or some of them just painted. We have two Coast Salish ones, which you'll remember is down here in our area. And this is a red salmon, so you know that it's the season, the salmon's running up the river. And you can see the fins and the tails down here. And this really colorful one is Thunderbird. And Thunderbird is a supernatural creature that lives in the mountains. And he's really, really large, and you can actually get him to help you out if you can accomplish a whole bunch of set tasks, which are really difficult to do. But here he is with his beak going down and his wings coming up, his big feet right there. So these pointed tips are used to navigate the water. You can use them just this high in the water, so you can move around, or you can actually use them to push things away. If you get close to this one, you'll actually see something really fabulous. This artist has done this raven with all this abalone shell. Abalone shell is a really important symbol of wealth. It was actually traded all the way up from Northern California, and they would use it specifically on pieces that were supposed to express value and wealth. So here the raven's got his beak down here, his mouth is filled with the shells, and his body's up here. This is only one artist that really does this. His name is Moy Sutherland, and he does just absolutely beautiful, beautiful work. If you want to look upward at this piece, this one's really fun. This is also Moy Sutherland, and this one he did as an homage to his teacher, who was very, very famous. He made a piece like this that's in the Smithsonian right now. This is a transformation piece. I'm going to be quiet. That you can see this white figure on the side. He's called Putness, and Putness is a sea creature who lives along the oceans. Really dramatic, isn't it? Imagine this on the dance floor. So this shaman inside, you can see the bone in his nose and his little spiky hair. He is responsible for saving a whole group of New Channel villages when they were starving. There was no food. And he actually used the spirit of this Putness to reach out to this whale, which you can see painted on the inside. It's doubled over to come ashore so that the people had some sustenance, and he saved the village. So this is a really important historical character. You see the two eye pillars? This is his ability to transfer his soul from one world to the next, which is really wonderful. So I mean, this is just a really fabulous dramatic piece. Lovely, isn't it?
It is, it's amazing.
Now, let's see. Oh, here, I want to show you another one. As we were talking about paddles, this paddle, you'll remember the Chinookan panel that had the sun and his relatives in it. This paddle actually is a traditional Chinook paddle. The prongs here are very specific because this is a river paddle, not an ocean paddle. So they had prongs that could be used to push rocks or, logs or anything flotsam in the water. And keep the canoes from getting hit. This image right here represents the Willamette and the Columbia that meet. So this is the confluence. This is that spiritual version of the confluence of the river in the inside. It's fabulous.
Gorgeous.
Wonderful. Let's see. Well, I'll show you this one. This one is really a wonderful piece. So this isn't unpainted, obviously, it's just deeply carved. This is Hiltzik, which is one of the mid-coast cultures. And this is the story of Raven stealing the light, which is pretty popular. In this story, Raven had heard about a man that kept some ball of light hidden away in a box, and he couldn't get at it, and he really wanted it. So he transformed himself into a pine needle and floated in the drinking water of that man's daughter. So she actually got pregnant with this baby, had the baby, and it was this little raven human. But of course you can't see anything because there's no sun. The sun, the ball of light is hidden away. So they don't know how funny he looks. But in this story, he spends years and years and years coaxing his grandfather into letting him see what's inside the box. And of course, grandfathers always give in to their grandchildren. And that's what happened. So as soon as Raven saw the light in the box, he snatched it in his beak, changed back into his bird form, and flew out the smoke hole into the sky. It's actually the smoke hole that made him black. He was not black before that, he was white. And so since he brought the sunlight out, all kinds of things happened. Things could grow, the ice would melt, rivers would flow, all kinds of things. So in this piece, this artist, Dean Hunt, is actually showing that moment of transformation. So you can kind of see how he has bird talons here, but this is a little bit more like a foot. His wing here hasn't actually got any feathers like it does there. It's just got these, images. So he has these legs that look like a little boy. His head is done in the round, so it looks like a little youngster. And these are the wind. So they're blowing the wind here, blowing the wind there, which is what propels him up into the sky. So this piece is actually showing a very precise moment in that myth of Raven putting the light in the sky. This one is really wonderful. It's just beautiful. You can see this profile face right here, the nose, the mouth, and the eyes, which is really that human aspect of the Raven, mid-transformation.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I'm going to show you this mask. This one is another Walkie mask. This is something that people have seen before. They have a giant sculpture of this character in Pioneer Square in Occidental Park, which has its arms out, and it's, one of those Seattle must-see things. So this character, her name is Uniclaw. She's a wild woman of the woods, and she's kind of this dual-purpose mythical creature who has the ability to give people tons of wealth. She can give you coppers, furs, blankets, all kinds of things. This is a classic model of Uniclaw, the wild woman of the woods. Wow.
She's scary looking.
She is, yeah. Yeah, she's an ogress. Yeah. But she's really quite wonderful. And she's brilliantly carved, too. You can see all the tool marks that the artist left on there. He didn't sand any of it. It's all the fine little details from his knife, which is beautiful. Most artists would sand it down so you can't see any slips they may have made or anything like that.
Very nice.
And I'll show you one last one, which is from one of my favorite artists. We're going back over here. She's flinked from Alaska. She's a really wonderful young woman who's doing some things that are contemporary and humorous and have some different ideas behind them. She actually had a solo exhibit at the Fry Museum a few years back that was really, really popular. This is kind of a funny one. So you can see she's done these really traditional form elements like we saw in other pieces. But you can see this guy's a little bit, he's got a frown and his brows are knit and he's kind of grouchy looking with his hands on his hips right here. This one's really happy. She's got her hands in the air, she's got a great big smile on her. It's called Regular. And that's a reference to Allison's love for coffee. She loves coffee. She puts coffee things in almost all of her pieces. So when you see that, you're obviously decaf Regular. It's a really great mood, and it's really quite funny. So this is Allison Brenner, who really is somebody that's going to make a lot of interesting pieces in the future. She's quite wonderful. Yeah. The tour, that's the Visit of Steinbrueck Native Gallery. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys can come down and see us sometime too. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
You're muted.
Hi, sweetheart.
Can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
No? My headset is not working.
Yes. Can hear you.
So that is our tour. Thank you for sticking with us with the technical difficulties. And I'm so glad that you joined us. We get together every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And next week, what are we doing next week? I need to write it down. Watch our website and Shoreline Area News and Facebook to see what we're going to talk about. But I'm glad that you joined us to celebrate First People's art. And I'm just going to check. There's somebody on chat. What does it say? Oh, thank you. Thank you for this wonderful tour. I found out about it on Shoreline Area News. Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Think of Shoreline Lake Forest Park Senior Center as a place to go, and I'm so glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you.
Will you be able to put it on the Shoreline Area News every week? That's how I heard about it too, even though I'm a member.
We're going to upload this to our YouTube, so Shoreline Area News can cross-post it from there. And yeah, Shoreline Area News will also post when this is happening again, though every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, we have another topic.
Good.
As you heard in our newscast, she's very accomplished actor, very long career.